Chapter 20. The place of imperialism in history. Imperialism, the last stage of capitalism. Imperialism as a stage of capitalism. Lenin defined imperialism as a specific stage of capitalism characterized by monopoly, parasitism, and decay. It is built upon, not a replacement for, earlier forms of capitalism. Coexistence of monopolies and competition. Imperialism features monopolies alongside continued market competition and crises. The basic economic laws of capitalism persist but operate with increased intensity. Socialization of production. Monopolies drive a high level of socialization in production, with large enterprises coordinating resources, research, and technology. Heightened contradiction. While production becomes increasingly socialized, ownership remains private, leading to extreme exploitation and a widening gap between the social nature of production and private appropriation. Capitalism as a reactionary force. The productive forces of society outgrow the limitations of capitalist relations of production. Capitalism, once progressive, becomes a barrier to further development. The need for socialist transformation. The inherent contradictions of capitalism, especially in its imperialist stage, necessitate the transition to socialism, where social ownership aligns with the social character of production. This transition faces strong resistance from the ruling capitalist class. Capitalism's ripeness for overthrow. The high level of productive forces and the intensification of capitalist contradictions indicate that capitalism is ripe for replacement by socialism. Imperialism is parasitic or decaying capitalism tendency towards stagnation. Monopolies, seeking maximum profit, can hinder technological innovation and progress, leading to stagnation and decay in certain sectors. Uneven development. While some branches of the economy may experience rapid growth, this is uneven and doesn't fully utilize the potential of modern science and technology. Obstacles to progress. Capitalism, particularly in its monopoly stage, creates obstacles to fully utilizing resources and implementing advancements in areas like hydroelectric power, agriculture, and atomic energy. Growth of parasitism. Capitalism, especially in its imperialist stage, leads to a growth of parasitism where the capitalist class is divorced from production and lives off income from investments. Rentier states and exploitation. Some countries become rentier states, deriving significant income from exploiting other countries and colonies through loans and investments. Militarism and waste. Imperialism fuels militarism, diverting resources towards unproductive military spending and causing destruction through wars. Social waste. Large numbers of people are divorced from productive work, contributing to unemployment and an increase in non-essential service sector jobs. Bribery of the labor aristocracy. The imperialist bourgeoisie uses profits from exploitation to bribe a section of skilled workers, creating a labor aristocracy that supports the capitalist system and undermines the broader working class movement. Opportunism in the labor movement. This labor aristocracy forms the basis of opportunism, which seeks to reconcile the working class with capitalism and hinders revolutionary struggle. Shift towards political reaction. Imperialism leads to a shift away from democracy towards political reaction, as monopolies exert control over governments and suppress democratic rights. Importance of mass struggle. The struggle against the reactionary tendencies of imperialism requires active and organized resistance from the masses, led by the working class, to protect democratic rights and prevent war. Imperialism as the eve of the socialist revolution. Imperialism as moribund capitalism. Lenin characterized imperialism as the final stage of capitalism, where its internal contradictions are heightened to their extreme, pushing the system towards collapse and revolution. 3 key contradictions. Labor versus capital. Monopoly domination intensifies the exploitation of workers, leading to increased discontent and a sharpening of class struggle, pushing the working class towards revolution. Inter-imperialist rivalry. Competition between monopolies of different countries for resources and markets leads to imperialist wars, weakening the system and fueling discontent among the masses. Oppressed nations versus imperialist powers. Increased oppression and the development of capitalism in colonies fuel national liberation movements, turning these regions into potential bases for revolution against imperialism. Revolution as a necessity. These contradictions make revolution inevitable, but not automatic. Active struggle by the masses, led by the working class, is necessary to overthrow capitalism. Imperialism as the eve of revolution. Lenin saw imperialism as the stage where conditions are ripe for revolution, hence calling it the eve of the socialist revolution. State monopoly capitalism, state serving monopoly interests. In the imperialist era, the bourgeois state functions as a dictatorship of the finance oligarchy, serving the interests of the ruling monopolies. Rise of state monopoly capitalism. As capitalist contradictions intensify, monopolies exert increasing control over the state, leading to the emergence of state monopoly capitalism. This trend was accelerated by World War I. State monopoly capitalism defined. This refers to the intertwining of state power and monopolies, where the state intervenes in the economy to maximize monopoly profits, especially through militarization. While the state assumes control over certain sectors, private ownership of the means of production persists. State ownership under capitalism. State ownership in this context doesn't represent a step towards socialism. It's another form of capitalist ownership where the state, controlled by monopolies, acts as the owner. This allows for intensified exploitation and increased profits. State intervention benefiting monopolies. The state uses its power to support monopolies by enforcing the subordination of independent enterprises, implementing protectionist trade policies, providing subsidies and tax breaks to monopolies, bailing out failing monopolies. War and state monopoly capitalism. Wartime intensifies state monopoly capitalism, with the state granting lucrative contracts to monopolies for military production, further enriching them while burdening the working class. Contradictions of state monopoly capitalism. While it accelerates the socialization of production, creating the material basis for socialism, it also leads to increased exploitation and impoverishment of the working class. Despite claims of planned economic management, the state cannot overcome the inherent anarchy of capitalism or prevent crises. False promise of state control. The notion that the state can effectively regulate the economy under capitalism is a deception. The state remains subservient to monopolies, and its interventions ultimately exacerbate the contradictions of the system. The law of uneven economic and political development of the capitalist countries in the period of imperialism and the possibility of the victory of socialism in a single country. Uneven development as a defining feature of imperialism. While uneven development existed in earlier stages of capitalism, it becomes a critical factor in the imperialist era due to the completion of global division, rapid technological advancements, and the struggle for redivision of the world. Rapid shifts in economic and military power. The uneven development allows some countries to rapidly overtake others in terms of economic and military strength, disrupting the existing balance of power and leading to conflicts over resources and markets. Historical examples of uneven development. The text cites the rapid rise of the US and Germany in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, surpassing established powers like Britain and France, ultimately contributing to the outbreak of world wars. Vulnerability of imperialism. The uneven development and resulting conflicts weaken the imperialist system, creating opportunities for the proletarian revolution to exploit these weaknesses and break through the imperialist front. Uneven political development. Uneven economic development also translates into uneven political development, with revolutionary conditions maturing at different rates in different countries. Lenin's theory of socialist revolution in one country. Based on the law of uneven development, Lenin theorized that socialist revolution could triumph first in a few or even a single country, challenging the earlier Marxist view of simultaneous revolution in multiple countries. Weak links in the imperialist chain. Revolution is most likely to occur in countries that constitute weak links in the imperialist chain, where a combination of objective conditions, economic and political weaknesses, and subjective factors, a revolutionary proletariat and its allies, exists. Intertwining of bourgeois democratic and socialist revolutions. In the imperialist epoch, the struggle against feudalism and colonialism becomes intertwined with the struggle against imperialism, creating conditions where bourgeois democratic revolutions can transition into socialist revolutions. World revolution as a process. The victory of socialist revolution in one country marks the beginning of world socialist revolution, which unfolds through a series of countries breaking away from the imperialist system with support from the socialist states. Confidence in the ultimate victory of socialism. Lenin expressed confidence that the growing revolutionary movements in populous countries like Russia, India, and China would ultimately ensure the global triumph of socialism.